Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Apyantimidandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Radhamayam Dadati Swavantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudatakam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sakala Raghunathambitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahana Bandha Shri Shakramitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranami Hari Priye Manjarapadurasya Nivasindhu Devasha Patidana Bhavaneyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Vashyavade Sadhavine. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I am very grateful, very honored, and very fortunate to have this opportunity to be with all of you this evening. Special obeisances to Kalangana Mataji. She may be hearing this class in her room. Let us offer our gratitude to her and our prayers by loudly chanting Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! everyone here? Can you hear now? Yes. Shruti Dharma Prabhu requested me to speak on the subject of Janmashtami. It was on Janmashtami that Srila Prabhupada, several decades past, personally invited Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda to appear in Bhaktivedanta Manor. It was here that he, through his gracious, compassionate heart, brought Krishna to reside here and to reside in all of our hearts for many, many generations to come. Srila Prabhupada danced here. He spoke here, performed artis here, abhisheks. He guided a community centered around the loving service of Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda. In several of his lectures, he described that when Krishna appears within this world, historically, over 5,000 years ago, he revealed himself in such a way that Janmashtami, his appearance, could take place within our hearts every day for the rest of eternity. Janmashtami is when Krishna appears within the heart of a devotee. Srila Prabhupada explained when we always remember Krishna, Man Mana Bhavamad Bhakto, that is called the Vasudeva platform. And just as Krishna appeared to Vasudeva, when we remember Krishna, when we hear about Krishna with great enthusiasm, and Krishna appears within our hearts. Krishna appeared in a prison in Mathura to Vasudeva and Devaki. And similarly, our hearts are very much like prisons. The word or the name Durga indicates a prison. That this material existence is a prison, where the eternal soul that is part and parcel of the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, Jivara Swarupoy Krishnara Nityadas, our true natures were eternal servants of Krishna. Prema Pumartha Mahan. The ultimate goal of life is to simply understand who we are, who we've always been, and what our true nature is. And that is to love Krishna, to experience Krishna's love. Vrindavan, Vaikuntha, the spiritual world is community. God is not just alone. The Supreme Absolute Truth expands himself in the spiritual world as his potencies, his pleasure potencies, and his eternal associates. It's a community. And that community is where everyone, they're conscious of the concept of Gokul Ananda, giving pleasure to the Lord of Gokul. Gokul Ananda means he who gives pleasure to Gokul. And everyone in Gokul simply wants to give pleasure to Krishna. But somehow we have forgotten that potential within us. And that forgetfulness, Maya, puts us in a condition like a prisoner. But what is the nature of this prison? In this world we have bars, and these days all sorts of high-tech security systems and gates, people armed with weapons to keep us in, strong stone walls around us. But Maya is so expert. She doesn't need walls. She doesn't need bars. She doesn't need weapons or guards. She keeps us in this prison by somehow or other influencing us to not want to leave the prison. It's as simple as that. Our desire to enjoy here, our desire to perpetuate our forgetfulness of our true spiritual nature. The bars are in the form of kama, krodha, matsara, lobha, lust, anger, envy, greed, arrogance, illusion. Cannot see them, cannot touch them, cannot taste them. They're so subtle. But they're more powerful than all the armies and all the nuclear arsenals that the world could ever create. Because even if the most powerful nuclear weapons, one after another, every one that is created in the world today, if one after another they fell on top of our heads directly, they could not cause the slightest harm to the soul. For the soul there is no death. The soul cannot be cut into pieces by any weapon, cannot be burnt by fire, cannot be drowned by water. If you're cast to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, it can't affect the soul. That's our nature, because we're part of Krishna. Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. But our desire to try to enjoy, separate from our natural relationship with God as eternal servant, imprisons our consciousness. Where the eternal soul, which is full of knowledge and full of happiness, which naturally is inherently filled with love for Krishna, compassion for all beings. We're so polluted, we're so perverted. We're so distracted that we're trying to be the controller, the proprietor, and the enjoyer through this temporary dying body, through this ever turbulent, never truly satisfied mind. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave a simple message. That all the philosophy that he taught to Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Ramananda Rai, all the philosophies and explanations, Jiva Goswami and all of our acharyas are ultimately aimed, Jeev Jago, wake up. Wake up to who you are. An eternal loving servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Gokulananda. Krishna appears in this world to teach us these truths, and especially to reveal himself, and especially to reveal the love between Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan. It's very important that we study, assimilate the lessons of the great souls who Krishna put in particular roles to teach us how we can come out of this prison of material existence into the true freedom of the light of Krishna's love. And to be an instrument of that light, whatever we do, wherever we are. Krishna's teachings were in the format of the Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Prabhupada explains, all of our acharyas explain, that to truly understand the Gita as it is important that we understand and follow in the footsteps of how Arjuna understood Gita. It wasn't an easy thing. We know from the Mahabharata all of the difficulties that the Pandavas endured. It wasn't just an incident. It was years, decades, practically their whole life there were challenges. The culmination, the Battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna was confused, perplexed. He was really miserable. So powerful, but he couldn't even hold his bow. Karapanyo doso pahatasvabhava. It was then that he said, Krishna, I'm confused about my duty. I do not know what to be done, what is not to be done. Instruct me. Arjuna was put in a role where he wasn't just a student trying to get a degree in Bhagavad Gita, preparing for a class to deliver to others. It was a matter of life and death. There was such a sense of urgency because these two armies were on either side of him and they were about to fight. It wasn't something theoretical. It wasn't, well, I see what's going on here, and let me have some time to study it and to make decisions. It was an immediate emergency. And it was simply beyond him to resolve. It was too painful. It was too confusing. It was too uncontrollable. Krishna, I'm yours. Please tell me. And Krishna, seeing Arjuna in that pathetic situation, he was starving, not just for knowledge, but for assimilation of truth. He was starving for mercy, for grace. He had no one else to turn to. There was nothing he could do himself. That was the spirit in which he listened to the Bhagavad Gita. And he had such faith that Krishna, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitramita Muttamam, that Krishna is the supreme truth. Srimad Bhagavatam is the story about Krishna. And the same type of situation is there. If we want to understand Srimad Bhagavatam with realization, it's important we follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit. The 10th canto begins with Parikshit speaking to Shukadeva Goswami. In the 9th canto, at the very end, Krishna is telling Shukadeva Goswami is explaining to Parikshit Maharaj the various dynasties, the great kings that came in the line of the moon god, the sun god, Surya, Soma. He explained Ramchandra, his forefathers, his descendants. He described the Yadu dynasty, and it culminates with the birth of Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami describes Krishna as the supreme personality of God. And our acharyas, they unpack the words of Shukadeva Goswami, revealing that he's not just an incarnation of Godhead. He's the original source, the complete whole, the source of all incarnations. What does that mean, to be the source of all incarnations? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. It's not chronological, the way we like to categorize things in this world. Because Krishna is eternal, Narayan is eternal, Ramchandra is eternal, Narasimhadev is eternal. So how could you be the source when everything's existing simultaneously forever? It's the fullness, and how the Supreme Absolute Truth reveals His opulences, His mercy, His grace. Other expansions, other forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead reveal certain quantities the Absolute Truth. Krishna and only Krishna reveals them in their total fullness. And that fullness is realized in the sweetness, the beauty, and the love of Krishna in Vrindavan. Krishna appears in this world to perform such beautiful, loving pastimes, to attract our hearts, to attract our minds. So that simply by remembering them, knowing that Kali Yuga was coming, says they can't hear. The whole subject of my talk is about hearing. Krishna performs such wonderful pastimes just by hearing and remembering from the proper sources of Parampara, of self-realized souls, in the mood of Parikshit Maharaj, in the mood of Arjuna, taking shelter of this beautiful narration. Through hearing we remember, and that is the supreme medicine for all those who are going to be suffering in this prison of illusion in this age of Kali Yuga. Srila Prabhupada explains from Bhagavad Gita, Paridranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatuskritam, that Krishna appears to deliver the pious, to annihilate the miscreants, to reestablish the principles of religion. But the Lord could do all of those things through empowered devotees, through various incarnations. Why does the Lord personally come to reveal his Vrindavan pastimes? It's to attract our hearts. Krishna appeared and performed these beautiful leelas for us today, for people for all time to come. It is described in Srimad Bhagavatam that after Krishna left this world, he incarnated in the Srimad Bhagavatam to give light in the darkness of this age of Kali. Just by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, by chanting the names of the Lord, in this spirit of Sharanagati, taking shelter, we can experience Krishna. In 1966, there's a well-known story where Hayagriva Prabhu was at the Anand Ashram of Dr. Mishra. With Srila Prabhupada and a few devotees, and he slept outside under the stars and the moon and had a dream. The next morning he explained to Prabhupada that dream. He said, I saw Krishna speaking Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, and then in my dream it switched to you speaking Bhagavad Gita to me. And it seemed the same. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you have understood. Because Arjuna was Krishna's dear friend. He was put in that illusion state for our sake. He took our role of conditioned souls confused in this material world so that Krishna could speak to us. So as the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam begins, Parikshit Maharaj he just heard a very brief summary in the 9th canto of Krishna's pastimes. He was born to Vasudeva and Devaki. Immediately he moved to Vrindavan. He killed demons there. He performed loving leelas, pastimes with his devotees there. Then he went to Dwarka. Then he went to Mathura, then Dwarka, and then he left. Sukadeva Goswami kind of explains it like that. And Parikshit Maharaj was so eager. He was so longing to hear more and more and more. He was asking so many questions. Please explain these things to me. And Parikshit Maharaj, he only had a couple days to live. He was about to die. He was taking shelter. And he was completely happy. He was totally beyond fear because he was hearing Krishna's message from Sukadeva Goswami. And all these great sages and rishis and yogis were gathered together just to be with him during those last moments. And he was so grateful. How was he cursed? He was in an excursion in the forest, and somehow or other he became so overwhelmed with thirst. He went to a little kutir, a hut of a Brahmin sage, Samigrishi. And he asked the sage, please give me water. I need water. If any of you have ever really seriously been thirsty, you know what your body and mind does in that situation. Kind of goes out of control. It's desperation. You could really lose your intelligence. And Samigrishi was in samadhi. He was meditating, so he didn't know the king was there. So the king is, I'm the emperor of the entire world, and you're not even giving me water? You're not even receiving me as a guest when you come to your hut? What type of yogi are you? And with his bow he placed a dead snake on the shoulder. And for that brutal imitation